My name is Jim Sedell. I'm the Inter-Deputy Water Coordinator for the Forest Service, overlooking and trying to coordinate national programs of water for the Forest Service. I work out of Washington, D.C. I've spent 32 years here in the Andrews Forest, and easily 32 years looking and examining forest and watersheds and ecosystems, and thinking of ways to restore those that have been badly damaged. I was one of the initiators of a dialogue between artists and scientists and land use managers, primarily because of the tremendous political, social pressures now acknowledging a damaged land and damaged forest. And the artists and writers that are out writing about forests and ecology and ecosystems and fish are much more in tune with the core values and intimacy with the land than often us land managers and natural resource managers are. And that this in-tuneness with those core values could only help us in a federal agency concerned about dollars and accountability and measurable outcomes keep connected to our core values, what we're about as an agency. The title of looking at metaphors for restoration is less in my mind about coming up with a soundbite or a sharp, crisp new metaphor than it is to examine metaphors and to examine all the different things that go into that connect to our core values as individuals and how we relate to the land. And I think that this workshop will succeed with kinds of folks because that dialogue will start, and we hope that this exercise will allow us to share with the greater agency and the greater public as to what we're trying to manage for and stay in tune with.
Okay, so we're having the workshop. It'll be over. Big splash. How do we sustain this dialogue? Is it important to sustain it, and how do we keep it going, bring it into practice?
I think that a dialogue on restoration gets sustained on a whole bunch of fronts. After this is over, there's certainly written documentation, there's certainly video documentation, there's certainly public participation. And I look at it as just one small step in keeping the sciences and the arts connected. And again, I think at root they're both core values, and the scientists are really storytellers. The good ones are storytellers that generate a fairy tale, and we often in our self-righteous ways of doing science talk about them in terms of hypotheses to be tested in a very formal procedure. But in reality, we're generating fairy tales about how the world works so the public can understand that. And in that sense, scientists should be part of the best tradition of storytelling. In fact, the good ones really are. And I think that this will help us stay in tune with core value stories, and it will also give the artists more of an idea of the nuances and complexities and difficulties of trying to understand how such a complex place works that's so important to us in these core values. And I think the end point is not to sharpen up or bring more call for restoration. I think we've already done that through forest health initiatives and things like that, acknowledged we've got a sick land out there. It's more to reconnect, tell our stories, reconcile our past activities with a model that we want to go to. And the end point, I'm not sure we have a clear idea what our end point is. The restoration is an evolving process, and you do the best you can at the time you can, and sometimes it's going to be wrong. The other thing in restoration that we tend to get caught up in the nuts and bolts of restoration, of how you do this or fix a stream this way or that way, when in fact a bigger question might be what happens when we double the size of this population. I've been around over 50 years, and I've seen tremendous change of just population change in the state of Oregon and around the forests and places I love. You double that, and it's just not a matter of putting up barbed wire fences and keeping people out of places. It's how they continue to interact, and you not destroy it while we live and interact with it.
So the challenge is going to get more.
So the challenge, in my mind, is only going to intensify, and as the public, through listening to song, to singers or other artists and reading these works, and we ourselves in the land management agencies and the scientists that are generating information or trying to generate policy, have got a huge task that the artists are going to help us keep in touch with those core values as we try to very imperfectly sort our way through an increased population and a complexity of working and sustaining an ecosystem on occupied land.